All right, we'll go ahead and get started now. Once again, my name is Tom Lyons. I'm a senior engineer with Inflow Communications. Want to thank you for joining us for our webinar today for using wrap codes in your Mitel and ShoreTel Enterprise Contact Center environment. My name is Tom Lyons. I am a senior support engineer and subject matter expert over at Inflow Communications. I have over 5, rapidly approaching 6 years of unified communications experience. I'm very well versed in not only the contact center platform, but the base system, as well as Pure Cloud and Ring Central. And before we get started today, we wanted to touch base on a couple of webinars that we have upcoming that may also benefit you and interest you for this upcoming next few days here. On 10/10, we have a webinar on using 911 caller ID in the base ShoreTel and Mitel applications. So this will be how to manipulate caller ID to work with 911 the way that you need it. So if you need a specific number out or have an E911 set up so that your users can call and the emergency responders know exactly where to go, we can help you get that set up. On the 15th, we have a webinar on how to troubleshoot Mitel and ShoreTel Enterprise Contact Center with diagnostics. This will be a quick webinar that'll run down the tools that we have with the diagnostics console to quickly diagnose issues that could be happening with the system and how to potentially fix them as well. And then I believe this is actually on the 17th, is creative ways to use IVR. So that's going to be a webinar run by us that will demonstrate ways to use your IVR setups with your contact center applications to do everything that you need to do and potentially some very creative ways to get from point A to point B. A little bit about Inflow Communications before we get started here. Inflow Communications has a sole focus on unified communications and contact center solutions. What that means is that we don't jump into other facets of technology like networking or other types of gear. Voice is what we do. Voice is what we're well versed in, and everybody that you talk to on the Inflow side will be able to help you with whatever you need. We are a ShoreTel Mitel Platinum partner, as well as partnered with Ring Central and Genesis Pure Cloud. We have offices and employees in 10 states. And we currently support over 200,000 endpoints and over 800 customers supported nationwide, and in some cases even worldwide. And we are maniacal about the customer experience. We want to make sure that we can get you all the information you require and then some, make sure that your system is running as efficiently as possible, and that you're getting absolutely everything that you could ever want and need from your phone system. This snippet is a screenshot of a few of the customers that we support. And then finally, as we go through this webinar, which will be fairly quick today, if you do have any questions, there is a questions box in your GoToWebinar application. You can type in your question there, and I will answer it at the end of the webinar. And if I require any additional information to get that to you, we will make sure that we get you that information as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull over the contact center dashboard here, or the contact center director, which you should see on my screen here. And we're going to go through a couple things that you need for wrap up. So let's talk about wrap up real quick before we jump into the actual configuration. Wrap up is used by your agents at the end of calls to appropriately frame the call, write down notes, enter information into your ticketing systems, and what have you, whatever you need to do after a call is completed before you get the next call. So you can think of this as kind of like an after call work. In fact, some phone systems actually call this after call work. If you're used to an older Avaya system and maybe just recently moved over to a ShoreTel or Mitel platform, ACW or after call work is exactly the same as wrap up. It's the exact same feature. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to set this up for your users, how to make sure your users use it, defining the amount of time that your users have for wrap up, and even forcing your users to use specific codes. So that's what we're going to get into today. This does assume that you have basic knowledge of how to navigate through the contact center directory. If you are looking for knowledge on that as well, we do actually have a quick walkthrough of contact center director from a few weeks ago up on our YouTube channel if you search for Inflow Communications, or if you go to our website at inflowcom.com. But to go ahead and jump into this here, Wrap up is going to be a series of different fields that you can configure that will allow your agents to choose from them, and we're going to start there. These wrap up codes are by default completely blank, and that's because these wrap codes are going to be completely different based on each individual customer and what they need. So you do have to create those. And the easiest way to find these, and the way that I always to ask people to do so, is up in this top bar here where it says search director. The easiest way to find anything is to type in what you're looking for. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in wrap. And you'll notice that the bar under it changes quite a bit, and it's actually pulled up a number of different submenus. All of these submenus are menus that the term wrap is actually a part of. And so that tells you that's where these can be set up. And what we're looking at specifically today are the agents, groups, and services, and also at the bottom, the tagged codes under system parameters. System parameters is where we actually have to set up the codes to begin with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under system parameters, and then under tagged codes, I'm going to click on wrap up codes. And you're going to see a whole bunch of codes because this customer actually has a whole bunch of different codes assigned to their system. When you first set up wrap codes in your system, this is going to be completely blank. And so the way that this works is very simple. On the right side, you have a new as well as a copy and delete. If you actually wanted to copy one, you could do that. And when you click on new, it's going to ask you to set up a code at the bottom here. And so you'll see when I press that, it said wrap up code 23, and then it says modified because I haven't saved it yet. All there is to a wrap up code is to enter a name and a number. And the number just associates with the name to make it easier for your agents to actually select the wrap up codes. So if I wanted to create a new wrap up code, I would just type in the name here. So I could type like test wrap. I could keep this number, or I could change it to whatever number I wanted to use that wasn't already used by another wrap up code. All I'd have to do is hit create, which I'm not going to do here. But all I'd have to do is hit create, and that would then become part of this list. And as soon as a wrap up code is a part of this list, it can be used by your agents, assuming that they have the proper abilities to use wrap up codes, which we're about to get into. And that's literally all there is to it here. And so what this is going to do is at the end of the call, when the call starts getting wrapped up, and they have the chance to actually choose a wrap up code, the codes that you create will be presented to them as a possibility for the wrap up reason from a dropdown, and they'll be able to change that code. So you want to specify codes that are specific to your organization. The other thing that's important to note is these are all going to show up for everybody. So if you have codes that are specific for certain departments, you want to make sure that they know which codes to use, and so on and so forth. Once we set up codes, which in this case we do have several here, there's a few things that you need to do to make sure that agents can use it. And the first thing we're actually going to click on is under agents, we're going to click on class of service. And I'm going to go ahead and discard my change because I didn't want to actually create a wrap-up code there. All right, and so in your class of service, which is essentially, if you're used to the base system, what the best way I can describe this is the container that gives your agents all of their permissions. And you'll notice there's a whole bunch of different checkboxes under functions in Interaction Center. And you're going to notice there's actually one highlighted in yellow, and that's because I actually searched for the term wrap. So not only does it actually find the fields that, or the submenus that contain the field you're looking for, it'll highlight the field for you too. So it makes it just a much easier process. That's why I always recommend using the search bar. You'll notice that there's one for wrap-up code selection. This actually allows the users to get that drop-down list of wrap-up codes at the end of the call. And you would definitely want to have this checked to make it easier for your users. This is going to allow them to select those wraps as required. If this isn't checked, they just don't get a box that says to select wrap-up. So you definitely want to have this on. If you needed to have only certain users have access to wrap-up codes, you could, as you can kind of see here, there are two different classes of service. You could set up a different class of service, add the agents that you need to have wrap-up codes enabled to that class of service, which you can do from the Agents tab, and then check that box. And then for the other agents, you can keep them in the standard and uncheck that box. That would actually allow you to separate your users so that only the users that require wrap would be able to set it up. And that's important for things like reporting, to make sure that your wrap-up codes are being used by the right people. Once this part is set up, you also need to make sure that your agents have the ability, setup that you want for the wrap up. And this is actually done at the agent level. So I'm going to go ahead and click on agents here. And you'll see here, just like before, I have the top agent actually highlighted here. You'll notice, just like before, general tab is highlighted in yellow, and then down at the bottom, you'll see forced wrap-up is highlighted in yellow as well. This is actually an optional piece, but this is important if you want to make sure that those wrap codes are properly being used all the time. What forced wrap is going to do is it's simply going to force the user to select a wrap-up code. If the wrap-up code, if forced wrap-up is not checked, the agent still has an option, assuming that their class of service allows for the wrap-up lists that we just talked about, but they do not have to choose one. So it is kind of up to their discretion. The other piece to this is because they have to do a forced wrap-up, it's going to force them to take the amount of time that their service is set up for, which we'll be getting into in a second. You can change how long your users have to actually sit and wrap up and get their work done. And it can be controlled per service depending on what your agents are doing. So if you click on this, this makes sure that your agents have to use a wrap-up code, which means that every call they get will need to be coded, which will also mean that reporting works out great for you. And you do have to do this per agent. There is no enforcement directly for that. So in order to do that, for each agent you need to have this set up for, you would want to click on the forced wrap-up button. And so this kind of goes with when we talked about queue handling, kind of like that group list order versus all groups criteria for group selection, where we always recommend setting this to all groups. If you're going to use wrap-up codes and you want to make sure everybody's using wrap-up codes, as a general rule, just make sure all of your users are set to use forced wrap-up, and that will cover your bases there. So between the class of service, the actual wrap-up codes that we created, and the agents list, we've now set up your agents to be able to use wrap-up codes, and we would be able to force your agents to use wrap-up codes. There's a couple more settings that you can use, though, which I'm going to get into here. That'll definitely help you with not only your reporting, but also just your overall work functionality. And the first one I'm going to look at here, because it's the most important in my opinion, is at the service level. And you'll see when this spins up here, general is once again highlighted, and there's a wrap-up time. The wrap-up time for this particular group is set to 20 seconds. This is the amount of time when your agent ends their call that they're allowed to sit in wrap-up before the system will automatically bounce them back into an available state. So for this particular service, I can see that the wrap-up time is set to 20 seconds. This means that after a call ends and a wrap-up code is selected, the agent has 20 seconds at a minimum before they are going to before they'll be able to accept another call, so that they can enter their work, take a drink of whatever they have at their desk, whatever they need to do before they're ready for their next call. It's going to give them 20 seconds. This can be adjustable. So if I wanted to set this to like 80 seconds, I could. And you'll see when I highlight this, there's a range between 0, which means no wrap-up time, and 999 seconds, which is quite a long amount of wrap-up time. Typically, you're going to see this between 20 and 30 seconds, but it can be whatever you need for your business. So if we need to set this to 45, for example, I would just change that number to 45, hit save up here, which I won't do here, and that would give your agents 45 seconds instead of 20, which is a nice thing to do if you have a lot of extra work that you need to do after a specific call, depending on your department. Maybe a few forms you got to fill out, or a lot of notes you have to do. Certain groups might need more than others. So this is definitely something that you can change per service. And in fact, here you can see, if you look at the top menu, it does show the wrap-up time for each service, and you'll see that some of these are set for 20, and some of these are set for 30. So some of them actually do have a different timer. So that's a nice thing depending on what your agents are doing. And then finally, and yes, we are going to be wrapping this one up here in the next few minutes. So this one is going to be a fairly quick one. You also have, for your reporting capabilities, you have an ability to check on wrap-up time based on your agent, which can be looked at using the agent monitor in the supervisor toolbar. So if you guys are contact center supervisors, you can use this to make sure that people aren't staying over their wrap time or overutilizing it. And so you'll see here under thresholds, you'll see that that's highlighted yellow. And if I click on it, you'll see that there is a wrap-up state timer. And what this wrap-up state timer is for is to let you know if somebody's staying outside of their respective wrap-up time, which can be done because you do have to say that you're ready for a call. And you'll notice that there are two different numbers. There's a yellow state and a red state. And all that means is in your agent monitor, once you pass the first number, so in this case, once you're at 31 seconds or higher, that wrap-up state per agent is going to be highlighted in yellow. It's going to let your supervisors know that, hey, this agent is either having some issues with something or needs a little bit more wrap-up time, or potentially may not be paying attention and would be something to look at. Once you hit 60 seconds or higher, that yellow state is going to change to red, which is going to indicate there may be potentially a problem there. So it would be an easier way for your supervisors to notice if people are staying in wrap or if they need assistance. So this is a good way to keep a close eye on that. And this can be done for each group as well. And just like the other metric for the actual amount of wrap-up time, this can be changed for each individual group. So you might have groups that 45 seconds to a minute of wrap are not uncommon, and groups that 10 to 20 seconds of wrap should be plenty. So depending on what you need, you can find this on the group tab. All the other options for this are more specific for email or agent queue profiles. Those are more advanced features. If you need some input on those, I would recommend you give us an email to our help desk or give us a call, and we can help you with those specific scenarios. But really, they work much the same as these, especially the agent queue profiles. They work the same as the services. So it is generally the same. This is a pretty simple, easy way to keep better track of what's going on in your system by using the wrap codes, because it will allow you to know what calls are coming in for, how they're closing out. You can use those codes to generate reports. Brightmetrics is one such way to do so, and will give you more information and control over your environment. So with that, I know this was a pretty quick one. It was about 12 minutes in length, but that is what we have to cover today. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be watching for the box. Right now, we don't have any, so I'll give you guys just a couple minutes here. If there is more than one agent involved in a call and both use a wrap code, or all the wrap codes retained? On review of the CDRTG database, I see only the last wrap code entered on the call. The last wrap code would be what would be used for that specific scenario, especially if we're talking about an agent that transfers the call to another agent, because the wrap code is going to be the completion of the call and what that call was used for. So that would be my understanding of how that works. I will make sure for you, Paul, because I do need to make 100% sure on that, but I do believe that is correct. And so if you can send me your email address real quick in the question field, I'll make sure to get you that question answered as well. Thank you very much, Paul. So I'll make sure I get that to you, but I am pretty sure that is the case. Does anybody else have any questions? All right. Can you use select multiple wrap codes? Are you talking? Can you select multiple wrap codes at the same time when a call ends? I believe it is just one. I do not believe you can select multiple at the same time. These are good questions, though. These are questions that I haven't actually directly tried. So I will find out for sure. Any other questions? All right, sounds like we're good there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that we have our current customer resources up for you guys. If you need any information from Inflow or need support on your system, you can email us at support@inflowcommunications.com. We also have a support portal at support.inflowcommunications.com. And finally, you can also call us at 855-946-3569 or 855-9-INFLOW. We do have a 3-ring answer policy, so you won't be on hold for 10 to 15 minutes waiting for us to jump on the phone. We will be on there very quickly to assist you, and anybody that you get will be very familiar with the environments that you are working with. If you need any more information on Inflow support packages, you can send us an email at sales@inflowcommunications.com, or you can also give us a call at 844-446-3569. And so once again, my name is Tom Lyon, Senior Engineer with Inflow Communications. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us for our webinar today. And we definitely hope to see you over the next few weeks as we have more informational webinars available for you as well. Thank you very much, guys. You have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you soon.